During the 1800s, people throughout the growing United States were hungry for opportunity and chances of a better life that fueled their dreams of moving westward. We'll show you a ghost town where such hopes and dreams came and went. Next on Ghost Towns and More. In the very center of the state of Idaho are lush forests just north of the infamous Salmon River, where solitude hides the echoes of a busy past. Thousands of people once came here looking for a lucky break to improve their fortune. In 1866, when gold rush fever was sweeping the nation, some mining prospectors came to this area looking for gold. After searching without success, they left the canyon to go back home to Montana. But before leaving, they named the river and canyon the Yankee Fork, because everyone in the mining group was a Yankee. Then in 1870, someone got lucky and discovered gold on a tributary of the Yankee Fork. That's all it took to rekindle an interest in the area, and more prospectors moved in. The luckiest of prospectors were three men who found a rich gold vein in August of 1876. Wanting to name it after something substantial, and with recent events surrounding General Custer's last stand, the men named their new mine the General Custer. The opening of this mine also started the beginning of a new town called Bonanza. The three men didn't have what they needed to fully develop the mine, so they sold their claim and left. As the town of Bonanza grew, the name Bonanza in Spanish meaning prosperity, more prospectors flooded in for some prosperity of their own. During this time, the new town of Custer, just 2 miles upstream, started up, and both towns grew together. Custer was founded in 1879 by Sam Holman, who graduated from Harvard Law School, but decided his chances were better finding gold than practicing law. He was the first judge in Bonanza and staked a large claim upstream. Instead of working the claim, he sold the property lots for a mill, and the new town of Custer began to flourish. At one point, Bonanza had doubled the population of Custer, but that soon changed when a devastating fire consumed part of the town in 1889 and again in 1897. Instead of rebuilding completely, most residents simply just moved to Custer. Custer had a number of restaurants, boarding houses, and saloons. The Chinese laborers who had worked on the Transcontinental Railroad came here, but a law was soon established prohibiting Chinese from living in the town. So they did what many Chinese had done elsewhere. They set up their own Chinatown just west of town. There they worked as cooks and launderers and did some low-grade mining of their own. One historical account describes how a group of the Chinese were massacred one night, allegedly by Native Americans. However, the suspicion soon gained traction that the supposed Native Americans were actually miners in disguise. The population of Custer swelled to over 3,000. One earlier resident stated that there were never any old people living in town. The miners ranged in ages from their 20s to their 40s. The work was hard, and in the cold winter months, it took a toll on their health. They came in droves, and as it was in so many other mining boom towns, the settlements were almost instant in how they developed. Just add the lure for gold and stir. In the middle of Custer, a schoolhouse was built, which also served as a meeting place for worship services, when and if they were held, as well as for dances on Saturday nights. Dances were always one of the biggest celebrations in small towns like this. People came for miles on foot, horseback, or wagon to come and join in some happy social life. If a large number attended, the school desks were moved outside. Coffee and sandwiches were served at midnight, and dancers could dance until dawn. Life in Custer was hard. Winters began in October and lasted until next April or May, but people got used to it and tended to the daily chores that were part of that way of life. Winters could be dangerous, and avalanches were a constant threat. During one hazardous winter, 3 children were killed when a snowslide buried them in their home while they were sleeping. On another occasion, a mailman traveling by snowshoes also fell victim to an avalanche of snow. By the turn of the century, the miners soon realized that the boom years were over for Custer and nearby Bonanza. With the gold running out by 1904, the mines had closed, and by 1910, the last of the hardy residents had moved out. Then in 1938, investors came in and built a dredge and began swallowing up the riverbeds for miles before it came to rest in 1952, where it still sits today and is open for tours. Barely anything remains of Bonanza, but Custer was purchased by the Forest Service, and many of the historic buildings are carefully preserved for visitors during the open seasons. Various pieces and sections of mining equipment are placed throughout the town, and people can tour the insides of buildings and see items from Custer's past. The area surrounding Bonanza, the dredge, and the ghost town of Custer is beautiful. The air is clean and crisp, the rivers are breathtaking, and it's a wonderful place to visit during the warmer months of the year.